In January, Taylor Frankie Paul was calling this ex that she's now accused of assaulting over 150 times in one night. And we're supposed to believe that Taylor Frankie Paul is not psychotic. I mean, you can see it in her eyes. Most people who are crazy, much like Colton, you can see it in their eyes. What's up, everybody? So today I wanted to get into that Bachelorette drama that's going on with Taylor Frankie Paul of the Real Lives of Mormon Wives show, who is in trouble for domestic violence. And it's interesting to me because I wanted to cover this season, and I still might if it airs, because I've had fun talking about dating shows over the past couple of years. Usually just Love Island, but I started to do Love is Blind and now doing Age of Attraction. I thought, why not get into the Bachelor/Bachelorette, even though I've never really watched the show before. It seems very dramatic, although that drama seems to come out as very toxic, though. So I still think this season is going to be very dramatic because this woman is very dramatic. But at what cost? And that cost seems to be the toxicity that this show loves to spew. You know, I just covered the Traitors US. The big subject was always Colton and his past. It was my first time learning about that past, where he stalked someone after the show before coming out as gay. And it makes me feel like, with what is happening this season, that this might be the most toxic franchise out there, which is crazy for me to say after years of watching and covering Big Brother, that there's actually a reality show franchise that is more toxic, that has more toxic people than Big Brother people. That is actually wild to me. But these dating shows are always so toxic. Love Island and that fan base right now always tearing people down, going way too far, although they also cast people that they shouldn't cast that are also extremely toxic. This season is crazy, and I want to start by talking about how it's not as though the show didn't know this woman has a history of violence. This is a mugshot from a few years ago from another domestic violence case, I believe. So keep that in mind as we go through, once again, how these reality shows tend to purposely find the most toxic people available because, you know, it's going to be drama. And as someone who likes drama, I get it. But I feel doing it on a dating show is a disservice to the people also going on this dating show. You are putting other people in harm's way of psychos. Dana Bowling posted a video of the host of Age of Attraction, who is also used to be on The Bachelor, Nick Viall. And he's more known to me for I see his terrible takes on Love Island all the time. Well, it's funny because he wanted to take credit for this casting on The Bachelorette when it has turned into a total shit show. And it's just another example of Nick having the worst takes. But let's watch this real quick.
Taylor Frankie Paul is your next Bachelorette. You are welcome, Bachelor Nation. You're welcome, ABC.
People, your haters are trying to say that you have an inside source, and that's the only reason that you got it right.
What do you mean? It was literally my idea 3 months ago. I gave him the idea.
He is
I feel like
source.
he's the source. Yeah.
I am the source.
Yeah.
Do you not see his comment? They asked Nick.
No,
They literally are watching
They
the
had the
Viall.
idea on their own, and then someone called me up just to be like, just so you know, 3 months ago, by the way.
Nick was like, this will save the franchise.
Right.
If you guys want to do it, you should.
You should. Maybe I know a little bit about this world. I don't know.
So yeah, Nick is taking all of this credit for the casting of Taylor Frankie Paul, and then this news drops that she allegedly choked her ex Dakota, yanked off his necklace, even though she is insisting that she is the victim. But it is hard to take that seriously when all this other stuff is coming out about not only that situation, but of course people drudging up her past and that past incident when she hit someone with a chair. Let's talk about that. According to the Salt Lake Tribune, court docs say Taylor's then boyfriend was trying to leave after an argument when she started hitting him in front of her 2 kids. Video of the fight allegedly showed Taylor Frankie Paul kicking him, putting him in a chokehold, throwing heavy metal chairs at him like she was in a WWE match. The footage reportedly showed Taylor's 5-year-old daughter had been next to her boyfriend on the couch when she was throwing chairs, and one of the chairs hit the child in the head. And we're supposed to believe that Taylor Frankie Paul is not psychotic. I mean, you can see it in her eyes. Most people who are crazy, much like Colton, you can see it in their eyes more often than not. And this is another person like that. So this is stuff everyone knew before trying to get her cast on The Bachelorette, or now getting her cast on The Bachelorette. And so we can sit here and say it's probably going to be a very dramatic season because she is psycho. But is that what makes a dating show? I still feel like what is being lost on dating shows these days is that we still want to see actual connections on dating shows. Yes, we want the drama, but we also want to see the connections. Well, a problem in the way of that is that another thing that was being reported was that back in January, Taylor Frankie Paul was calling this ex that she's now accused of assaulting over 150 times in one night. Can you imagine that? Someone blowing up your phone 150 times because they're psychotic. The gag is, this was back in January, long after she recorded The Bachelorette. So she went on the show to find new love, still clearly not after her ex after doing the show. So that doesn't really mean we're probably going to get some real connection out of this show if that was happening after the show was recorded. So that's more bad press for the show, in my opinion. Someone on Twitter had a great response to all of this and, how this plays into modern dating. Harrison Crank said, if you want to get a glimpse into how bad modern dating culture has gotten, 22 men are about to compete on national television for the chance to marry a single mom of 3 who cheated on her previous husband and has an open domestic assault case against her. Now, this person went on to say that it's going to make for good TV. And that's what we all keep saying. This season of The Bachelorette probably will be good TV. I expect plenty of drama because she herself is obviously quite dramatic. But how are we supposed to look at this as success in dating? It's also throws everything out the window that a lot of women like to argue for in the current dating market, that all men are trash. We had people like Amber on this past season of Love is Blind who went into the season already hating men. And then by the end of the season, we can see how she has all these problems herself and how her decision making is questionable. But yeah, it's the man's fault. Not always, not when you have examples like this woman from Mormon Wives. The other thing being reported by TMZ is when they broke the story, she has been telling a different version of the events, that Dakota was the primary aggressor during a recent car ride with Taylor. But production from the Real Lives of Mormon Wives show themselves, or at least sources from production, have negated that allegation and are saying that she was the physically abusive one to him and their son, by the way, is what's being reported by TMZ. And production halted on that show altogether after this incident. So I just don't think she comes out of this looking not guilty. And I don't know what The Bachelorette is going to do. People are reporting that they might not even air this season. I'd be shocked if they don't air this season. These reality shows usually don't care about stuff like this. That's why they cast people like this in the first place. However, when sponsors start pulling out, which they have, then it can become a problem. And I think that's why it is kind of becoming a problem. She has spoken about this happening to her as if she didn't bring it on herself, but let's listen to some of it.
You are currently under investigation for domestic violence. What's your response to the allegations? And what do you want people to know?
That is a tough one. It's been extremely heavy, and honestly, it took everything in me to get here today. It's tough because it's like I want to give my whole story, and I think there's a whole background of the story, and that I don't know comes at a different time and day. But what I will give now is just more. There is more to the story, and it just sucks to be known as like crazy girl, if you will, because it's just not the case.
So first she's saying, of course, there's still more to the story, which there always is two sides to a story, so I'll give her that. But then she's saying she doesn't want to be seen as a crazy girl, or she's being seen as a crazy girl, when that's not the case. It's the case. You're crazy. I mean, this is not the first incident. You've had many incidents. You're crazy. It's the image she brings on herself.
I don't know. Timing is unfortunate of this all, but also at the same time not a surprise because I've dealt with this for years now, of having every premiere ruined for me. So the fact that this is happening is not a surprise, but at the same time has been hell.
She then tries to give a woe is me statement about how this always happens to her before a premiere. She'll go on to continue to talking about how bad things are always happening to her before a premiere. Once again, I will say, just taking no responsibility for her own actions that get her in these messes.
You said timing is not a surprise. I think for the viewers, it is like, wow, this is unbelievable timing. What are the odds? How did this happen? Explain to me why this is not a surprise to you.
It's not a surprise to me because I've had every premiere ruined for me. Every premiere that I've been to has not been enjoyable. It was definitely a cry. The night before, podcast I didn't show up to. The Time 100 event that I got was like me freaking out on the plane, like worried about what was going on back at home. So every big event that I've ever had has been taken from me, and the happiness, so it's like not surprising.
So yeah, she's gonna play the woe is me. This is bad things happening to me, not bad things I am causing. We'll see what ABC does if they actually end up airing this season. Will I continue to cover it? You know, I like a good mess, but I don't love toxic messes when other people can be hurt. I believe she also allegedly did a TikTok possibly with the person that won the Bachelorette season, not so showing his face, but of course other people have already maybe detected who won the season, so she's kind of already possibly spoiling the season. She's a hot mess. Nick Viall's always an idiot. I mean, he might have gotten the Bachelorette into this mess, or at least he was trying to take credit before this mess. Yeah, these dating shows, I would stay far, far away from them if I were you.